They are getting it all wrong. We have bankers, chartered accountants in the fold of Ahmadiyya, Hufaz, medical doctors, lawyers, engineers. So don't just sit in one corner in London and you speak for Africa. It's not correct. I'm saying it. It has been 100 years of sustained missionary endeavor in Africa. Let them tell us any religious group that has been able to undertake such a venture as he would cause his message to reach the corners of the earth. Sierra Leone sits on the Atlantic Ocean. It's a corner of the earth. That message has landed there 100 years ago. It was meant to thrive. Let them tell us, with all their wealth, with all their scholarly initiatives, how have they been able to sustain the true teachings of the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in Africa. It's easier for anyone to go build mosque and walk away and leave people fighting for ownership and control of that mosque. That is happening in Africa today. Yes, Gaddafi built a mosque in Freetown. People have struggled over the leadership of that mosque. Allah knows we are Muslims, and that's what is important. If you recognize it, it's fine, but don't give it to us as a gift that we recognize you as Muslims. You don't have authority to determine who is a Muslim and who is not a Muslim. The Imam has come. The Imam has cleaned the house of Islam. The issue of Khilafat has re-established, and it's thriving. So those people who are holding that view that Africans are not educated, that's why they are entering into the fold of Ahmadiyya, are entirely wrong. Because I come from the understanding that Islam had a long-standing history with Africa, and you have a lot of scholars, educated people in the field of Islam and many other professions in Africa. So, and even as Ahmadiyya exists in Africa, you have several other Islamic sects in Africa. So it's not that Ahmadiyya is offering the only option in terms of entering into Islam. So this is it for my country, if I will start from Sierra Leone as a country. By 1915, one Musa Mewa read about the advent of the Imam of the age and the second Caliph at the time and accepted Ahmadiyyat. He wrote back to the Caliph and accepted Ahmadiyyat. In 1921, the Sierra Leone Jamaat benefited from the very first missionary of a chain of pioneer missionaries and a sustained missionary endeavor to Africa, in my country specifically, that has lasted for the last 103 years. So I know it that there are people who attended Ahmadiyya school. There are people who come from diverse background, from Sunni, Shia Islamic background, that have entered into the fold of Ahmadiyya. I know for truth that there are many Jamaat members today who studied Arabic and Islamic studies in other institutions that are not Ahmadiyya-owned institutions, but they have understood the concept of the appearance of the Imam of the age, and they entered into the fold of Ahmadiyyat in the early 50s, 60s, 70s, and coming, and even up to today. Even before my coming to this Jalsa, a Christian person approached me. We've had a very deep conversation. He's got so confused about life and religion in his life. He's asked me so many critical questions about the existence and status of Jesus Christ, understanding religion from the Ahmadiyya perspective. I've shared books with him, like Christianity from Fact to Fiction, giving him a copy of the Holy Quran. So to hold the view that people are entering into the fold of Ahmadiyya because they are undereducated or uneducated or they don't have Islamic knowledge, it's not true. They are entering into the fold of Ahmadiyya because they have found it to be the true Islam. It is representative of the teachings of the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Ahmadiyya represents unity. Ahmadiyya represents the true Islam. Ahmadiyya represents humanity in Africa. So this is the fold. 100 years of efforts, missionary endeavors in Sierra Leone, for instance, has given us 313 schools across the country, primary, secondary, junior and senior secondary school. Along with this, we have Christian missions that do have more schools than Ahmadiyyat. We have reached out to very remote communities across the country. You have people out of common understanding of why the Imam of the age has appeared, the view held by Ahmadiyyat, or that represents the difference between Ahmadi Muslims and the non-Ahmadis. They've had a clear understanding of this, that the Mahdi, the advent of the Mahdi, for instance, is not an Ahmadiyya creation, it's not an Ahmadiyya word. It was foretold by the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam that in the latter days a reformer would appear. That reformer has appeared. It doesn't matter whether you are coming from the continent of Africa or anywhere. If the truth as occasion has presented itself to a convincing help, you have no option but to accept it. So this is what is happening across Africa. And those who are holding such views, maybe they are thinking about the economic situation and hardship and struggles in Africa. They are getting it wrong. Similarly, so you have to look at the credo of Islam. When the Prophet ﷺ took the claim You had very poor, the rejected in communities came and accepted that truth. The scholarly establishment, those who felt they were the elites of that society, rejected the truth. Even as it stands today, they are amongst the losers. They are counted among the losers. So nobody should feel that Jamaat has taken advantage of Africa for 100 years now. Africa has liberated itself from colonialism and many other challenges. So you cannot have a religious colonization in Africa. So the truth is, the reality has come out that most of the practices and teachings Ahmadiyyat introduced 100 years ago in Africa, in Sierra Leone, in Ghana, in Nigeria, in many parts of West Africa, Eastern Africa, has turned out to be the true teachings of the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. 103 years ago, when the Ahmadi missionaries arrived in Sierra Leone, they established their very small communities. They started teaching people that 3 days, 7 days, 40 days funeral rites are not teachings of the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The establishment at the time challenged that. 103 years ago again, when Ahmadi Muslims arrived in Sierra Leone, they started teaching the community that it was the practice of the First Class to pray with the right hand on top of the left hand. They challenged that. In fact, it became a name for the Ahmadi Muslims in my country, the Muslims with the folded hands. They used to call them pagans because of their prayer style. Yes, they used to pray with loose arms. So 100 years on now, you hardly enter into any mosque in Sierra Leone where you will find people praying like this in majority, if you find any 1 or 2 or 3. So these things are coming along. They are presenting the fact that Ahmadiyyat said it 100 years ago, that the Prophet never observed 3 days, 7 days, 7 days or 40 days funeral rites. The Prophet prayed with folded arms, not because he had a stomach pain or one side his arm hot. That's what the scholars were telling them. So he prayed like this on an occasion. The Jamaat said no, he prayed like this for the rest of his life. That's the teachings of Islam. So today they have all entered into this mood of prayer. So many other things about performance of Hajj, performance of prayer. They challenged the Jamaat 100 years ago. They are very learned scholars now coming from many parts of the world going for Islamic education are now in agreement with the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat. So this is the truth, the fact itself that has presented itself to the people. Our interpretation of what jihad is, put along with what is happening across the world today. Our explanations about acceptance of other people who are non-Ahmadi Muslims or who are not even Muslims. How do you live with your neighbor? How do you embrace people of other communities? Are very much very good ideas that people have learned to appreciate about the Jamaat, and they found that representative of the teachings of the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If anybody said the Prophet is a violent prophet, you have no evidence in Islam to present. If an Ahmadi Muslim said our Prophet was peaceful, he led the Medinan community not only as a spiritual leader, but as the governor. And that community had Christians, Jews, pagans, and Muslims. We had the Medina Charter. He taught peace. And the Holy Quran is supportive of all these facts. So that is what we are teaching on the continent of Africa. And we challenge them, those who are raising those accusations against the Jamaat, let them tell their efforts towards, propagating Islam in Africa. You have a very small community in their consideration that is insignificant, but yet it has been able to maintain a sustained missionary endeavor on the continent of Africa for over 100 years. We have Pakistanis in Sierra Leone and West Africa. We have Indians for over 100 years, over 200 years. We have the Lebanese, we have the Syrians. But I know for true, we have a set of Asians in Africa for the last 103 years. They have not gone there for commerce. They have not gone there for anything but to give the message of the true teachings of Islam. So what do you think that gift to Africa would yield? Would only mean people entering into the fold of the true Islam. It can never be anything. Those who went there for economic gains and profits, they have done it. They have their companies and establishments. Those who went there to take the true teachings of Islam have made the progress. So to say people are entering into the fold of Ahmadiyya out of ignorance because they are undereducated or whatever the feelings are, it's entirely wrong. It's like you are ignoring the efforts of the Jamaat, what it has taken to Africa so far, how much the Jamaat has worked hard to get the minds of young people away from terrorism, away from misunderstanding the teachings of Islam, and get a proper Islamic atmosphere. Jalsas across Africa, in my country, for the last 2 years I've served as the Amir of Sierra Leone. The President of the Republic of Sierra Leone, who is a Catholic Christian himself, has attended the Jalsa twice. In his last jalsa, he said he wished every Sierra Leonean were an Ahmadi. So if the whole world were an Ahmadi, there would be no war in Russia, no war in Ukraine.
He said this.
Yes, the President of the Republic, publicly addressing the Jalsa Gah. He commended the efforts of the Jamaat in the field of education, the field of health, and the maintenance of peace in our community. And the story is not different. Where you find resistance to Jamaat from government and its people, that is where the Jamaat has not penetrated. Whichever liberal community that presents itself to hear the other part of the story, you find out Ahmadiyya thriving. It has nothing to do with the nature of Africans and their economic state. It has nothing to do with education. I sit here, I'm a trained barrister and solicitor of the Republic of Sierra Leone, of the High Court. I'm a notary public. I'm a commissioner for oath. I've practiced law for the last 12 years. So I'm an educated person. So do you say I am not an educated person? I'm coming into the fold of Ahmadiyya. So what do you have to say? It can't be true. So looking at Africa, most times people who talk about Africa and what Ahmadiyya is doing in Africa, they have not had much research or studies about they just see Africa as one small country. It's a continent on its own of about 54 more states. And we have a situation there where the scholarly territory has long been expanded. Go to a country like Nigeria, thousands of universities, professors, PhD holders in Islamic studies and many things. In such countries as well, you have people entering into the fold of Ahmadiyya. Go to Ghana, the story is the same. Come to Sierra Leone, we have people entering into the fold of Ahmadiyya. So the point I will make with this is very simple and straightforward. Muslims should not tell lies. So especially when you talk about ulama having such views, it leaves me very much worried. If you have no knowledge, don't speak. If you want to, move to Africa and see. I have just given you clear evidence. Since 1921, the first pioneer missionary landed in Sierra Leone on a ship's deck from India. And the work of the Jamaat started in that country. So trying to preach the true Islam to the people, to reject what are innovations that have entered into the house of Islam. It's a sustained effort. If they had gone there with terrorist activism, they would not have achieved what we had in Sierra Leone today and the other African countries. But they took the true message in peace. They tried to convince the people, like the instances I have given you about prayer differences and all of those things, are coming almost after 60, 70, 80 years of sustained efforts, and the people have come to the reality that, yes, Ahmadiyya was right, even without conceding, but they are doing it our own way now, which gives an indication that that truth that landed in Sierra Leone some 103 years ago is now yielding fruits of people acknowledging and accepting in their different ways. And again, what conclusion do we make with this? The fact is clear. The promised Messiah Imam Mahdi, the holy founder of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat, clearly indicated that Allah has told him, Allah has communicated to him that he would cause his message to reach the corners of the earth. Sierra Leone sits on the Atlantic Ocean. It's a corner of the earth. That message has landed there 100 years ago. It was meant to thrive. It was not meant to feed on the ignorance of Africans, but to get people who are educated, who are landed, to see the true Islam in the hands of the Ahmadiyya Jamaat. So today the blessings are enormous. What many people are raising questions about now in this day and age is simple and straightforward. Why is it that this small community is the only one that is talking about having a Khalifa? When the Holy Prophet passed away, what happened? What institution gave leadership to Islam? We are all clear on that. There is no Muslim scholar that is denying the fact that Khilafat was the representative leadership of the Ummah, which lasted for about 30 years, 29 years, 6 months, as Ali was killed, as in accordance with the teachings of the saints of the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as Ali anhu was killed. So that Khilafat ended. And the prophecy is that that Khilafat was to re-emerge based on the precepts of the prophethood in the latter days. So if you have denied the advent of the Imam of the age, how do you benefit from a successor when no prophet has come? So Africans do understand this as much as the ulamas don't understand it with all their scholarly standing. So, I mean, it is not something we have to wait. Like one of our missionaries once told some scholars who took such a very proud posture, oh, no, we recognize you as Ahmadis. No, we don't need your recognition. We don't need any certificate from any human being that we are Ahmadis. We know, Allah knows we are Muslims, and that's what is important. If you recognize it, it's fine, but don't give it to us as a gift that we recognize you as Muslims. You don't have authority to determine who is a Muslim and who is not a Muslim. We have declared the kalima, and we have said we are walking in the footsteps of the prophecies of the Imam of the age, of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, that an Imam was to appear who has a prophetic status, who has been described as Nabiullah, a prophet of Allah. And until he came, Khilafat would not have recommenced. He has to come, reintroduce the true teachings of the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he's passed, and then the institution of Khilafat will start. This phenomenon is a repeat phenomenon from the Ummah of Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam at the commencement of Islam, and in this day and age, which is the reformative form of that same. And that's why he said that community will be prototype of that of the community of the Holy Prophet Muhammad. And this is what the Africans are understanding. They have not placed themselves in an egoistic position. They have not looked at Islam from a perspective of a lineage. They have not looked at Islam from a perspective of origin, race, or color. They have looked at Islam as a property of Allah the Almighty, and what are the truths, the truthful revelations that the Holy Quran has given to us, and how are they panning out. So in this day and age, that is the landscape of religion in Africa. There are challenges. We know they are making their efforts to roll back the efforts of Ahmadiyyat, but they should know that it has taken 100 years to get us where we are today. It's not just about taking funds and support to people and give them come and enter faith. No, it has been 100 years of sustained missionary endeavor in Africa. Let them tell us any religious group that has been able to undertake such a venture, as costly as it is. We are not boastful about it, but by the grace of Allah, through divine support, Allah has made it possible that we can have trained missionaries at the highest level across the world. Now with so many jamias across the world, from Kadian to Revert, missionaries have been sent to Sierra Leone, except when they were at the peak of war in Sierra Leone, when they recalled, to, most of them even went to the West Africa and other West African countries. Immediately the war ended in 2002, they were redeployed. Same for Ghana, same for Nigeria, same for Ivory Coast, same for the Gambia, same for Liberia. The list is endless. Let them tell us, with all their wealth, with all their scholarly initiatives, how have they been able to sustain the true teachings of the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in Africa. It's easier for anyone to go build mosque and walk away and leave people fighting for ownership and control of that mosque. That is happening in Africa today. Yes. People fight to be chairman for mosque, to be imam for mosque.
Sunni mosque.
Yes, in the other faiths. In the other faiths, Gaddafi built a mosque in Freetown. People have struggled over the leadership of that mosque from a non-Ahmadi perspective. So if we have a Jamaat that is global in nature, that has one community, one leader, when the Khalifa gives instruction, the whole world follows. What more do you need? Why is Africa not rebelling, na'uzubillah min zalik, against the instructions of the Khalifa of the time? What is coercing them to comply with the demands of the Khalifa of the time? It is a divine message. The Imam has come. The Imam has cleaned the house of Islam. The institution of Khilafat has re-established, and it's thriving. It is thriving. It's open to the world. You either join it or they beat you. We're moving on. We're moving on. You cannot create Khilafat, my brother. You cannot. The ulama of this day and age should understand this reality. You see, the world finds itself in a situation where we were even before the coming of Islam. When Judaism got established, when the Messiah of the time came, Hazrat Isa alayhi salam, introduced himself that has come as a reformer to the message of Hazrat Musa alayhi salam, it was resisted. By who? The so-called scholars, the learned people, the elitists, because they saw his appearance as a Messiah as an obstruction of an established order. Then Rasulullah Karim sallallahu alayhi wasallam came with his blessed presence as instructed by Allah. Again, the Jews and the Christians and all establishment, they resisted him. They denied the truthfulness of his prophetic mission, even though he was commissioned by Allah. that he comes from the Ishmaelites, he's not from the Israelites and their chain of prophets. But what happened? That is Allah's will. It was established in just 22 years. Yeah. Up till this day, we are beneficiaries of that blessed appearance of our Prophet Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He left us with the glad tidings again, that in the latter days, by the 14th century Hijrah, they say a reformer would appear, a mujahideen, a special mujahideen, recognized as what? The Imam al-Mahdi, Nabiullah, said he would come not with a new Sharia, he would come not to bring in a new religion, but he is coming to clean the house of Islam, of all what is happening today, of all the Islamic republics. Let's take a look at the wars that are taking place, the lack of unity. There is no center that has been established to hold the Muslims together, even in the same sect. So the only blessing we have, the only hope we Africans see in the house of Islam today is that is with the Khalifa of the time. And that blessing could not have occasion but for the appearance of the Imam of the age. And this is why Africa today is thriving. You come to my country, Sierra Leone, 313 schools is the Muslim institution that has challenged in a very positive way the other religions in Sierra Leone in giving humanitarian services to people. Why are we building schools? Are we making profits out of them? No. Very remote communities cannot access education. So we are fulfilling Ahuku Ibad, our responsibility to Allah, our responsibility to humanity.
Are these schools for everyone?
For everyone. Non-Muslims, Christians. I went to school with Christian friends who would come to school on Sunday. Some after service, they rushed to school. They learned the Holy Quran. They did subjects like Islamic studies and got A's in it at international West African examinations. Yes, I don't have the approval now, but if they had permitted, I would have named names, you know. And they are still proud of Ahmadiyya. They are Christians, but they see the Islam Ahmadiyya preaches as representative of the true Islam. Non-violence, helping humanity, supporting society, and you have a well-organized Islamic group in a day and age where people are fighting over the soul of Islam, along with their pride, their ego, their intellectual standing. We have a community of so many scholars. You never hear them debating. Everybody is humbled, listening to just one voice. And which is that voice? The Khalifa of the time. When he spoke in Sierra Leone, that Jamaat has taken 100 years in Sierra Leone, it has pleased His Holiness to now have a local Sierra Leonean, after 100 years of training, 100 years of hard work. Let me see how a local person can manage the Jamaat. He chose my insignificant person as a lawyer, as the Amir of Sierra Leone. With all the scholars in the country, local and international, everybody said, our Khalifa has appointed you, we obey you. And the Jamaat is thriving. So which other Islamic organization in my country and many places of Africa would have accepted that? The first question is whether I'm an ulama, whether I'm a scholar, and then fighting would ensue. I have seen it. I don't want to name names. It's very frequent in the African landscape. I've told you the fight over mosque leadership. Yes. Yes, the Sunni, they fight over mosque. They would have to fight over who leads the Eid prayer. I've been imam here for many years. I've never led Eid. Things that would not even occur in the house of Ahmadiyya. Why? Because there is Khalifa. There is that one voice that the rest of the community listens to. So until our brother Muslims understand that those ulamas who are sitting in their cocoons, who feel they are professors of understanding what Islam is around the globe, they are getting it all wrong. We have bankers, chartered accountants in the fold of Ahmadiyya, Hufaz, medical doctors, lawyers, engineers, contributing to the development of Islam in a very much positive manner. So don't just sit in one corner in London and you speak for Africa. It's not correct. I'm saying it, I'm saying it.